with great exception to the rule when it comes to conservatism and upholding that exceptional constitution. And I heard someone say, I don't like to the kids having to say the Texas anthem. And I was like, why? Me being who I am and this person not knowing me was like, oh no, I just don't like them saying the Texas anthem because it makes them sound elitist. They don't get it. It's not elitism upholding tradition and patriotism in that regard. Saying the pledge and saying things out loud. If you poo-poo those, how are these crazies supposed to feel any bit of satisfaction in the country that they think they have freedom of speech in? Just putting it out there. And the critical thinking that goes behind, not agreeing with each other. That's wonderful. That's beautiful. That's how we create more masterpieces. That's how we create the ethos of this country. It's saying we can make this better, but we as people can make this better within the rules that these exceptional people made for us. This exceptional country that these people made for us. We can make it better within the bounds of those rules. And Martin Luther King Jr. proved that you can do amazing things following within the bounds of the rules so that you win. The truth will set you free. It's a lot harder. You may not be around to see the end of the victory, but it's the harder road, it's the better road, and neither one of the sides that engaged in chaos, instigated war with each other, as stupid and staged and ridiculous as it was, their pride caused the deaths of 3 people who probably didn't want to have anything to do with one side or the other. And that's the opposite. So the repression of freedom of speech is the situation. These people on the crazy white nationalist side were feeling repressed and feeling like they had been pushed back too much, and that only backing down is hurting everybody, and that's what they believed. And then you've got this side who's protesting whatever they're protesting. They don't give a damn what they're protesting. They're evil people. So they're repressing those people because they believe they're evil. And then a conflict starts, and the mainstream media wants the president and everybody to take sides against what we all know, politically correct, are the bad people. So, guess what happens when the government takes sides and the mainstream media takes sides and decides for you what you need to say is right or wrong in regards to freedom of speech because of the so-called bad people. They can't choose sides for you. They can't choose sides for our president. They can't choose sides for anybody. The president that was in the office beforehand could not choose sides, but he did. He did it all the time. After the fact, you'd come out, oh, he probably chose poorly on that one. Like Bergdahl. I mean, the guy that totally was a chicken, left his thing. People died trying to go look for him as he defected to the bad guys. The president was like, oh, he's such a wonderful guy. Comes home from being a prisoner of war. Oops. Kind of the scum of the earth, but anyway. Water under the bridge. What happens when you take one side or the other is that you give the power to people who may not necessarily be on your side. We're talking about socialism doing that, but now let's get an example of what communism does. You know that North Korea is a product of war and communists. Their people, their caretakers, by the way, who won them in the war, was China. So China hates these North Korean people, thinking like they're the people that like, sorry, the bastard stepchildren that nobody wanted. And that's what they treat them like. But I believe that they're just waiting for someone to wipe them out so that they can add to their territory. They are actively, constantly looking for territory. They've been doing it to the Tibetans in Nepal. They've been creating, destroying the South China Sea and making their own island. They can't do that, but they are. No one's been calling them on it. None of the administrations before were calling them on it. They're actively expanding their territory. They probably have lots of good reasons for that, but no one's calling them on it. And this is just another, way that they could add to their territory. Someone, America, Russia, anybody want to take them out? Okay, whatever. Do it. And then we will do something to make sure that we save face, and then at the same time we get all this land. So, I think Trump has called their bluff, and God only knows how that's going to turn out. But I wouldn't be surprised if China didn't help us at all on this, because they created this animal. And I don't know how you save face on that. I really don't. I would say take it upon yourself to change things there, but I don't think China has ever done anything aggressive. Nothing. I don't know why that's their plan. I don't know why that's their motive. I don't know how they expect to be a superpower on planet Earth, but they don't want to be aggressive. It's like a passive-aggressive type of engagement. And they're comfortable with doing bad things to their own kind. And then they're not very comfortable with doing things out in the open to other powerful people. They kind of do it under the rug. They do it with finances. They do it with that kind of thing. And I think they're just trying to hope that someone will come along and take North Korea, readjust them for them. I don't think they're going to do anything. But here's the reason why they do need a readjustment no matter what. And then at the end, I'm going to tell you why this is important to you. I know internationally, you're like, how does this affect? This is not our war. Let me just show you this. There's two. This is the same girl. This is her first speech in front of people. And then she comes on again in another speech. I don't know if we'll have time for both, but let me play a little bit more of this one.
It's not I'm speaking. This is the people who want to tell the world what they want to say. North Korea is an unimaginable country. There is only one channel on TV. There is no internet. We aren't free to sing, say, wear, or think what we want. North Korea is the only country in the world that executes people for making unauthorized international phone calls. North Koreans are being terrorized today. When I was growing up in North Korea, I never saw anything about love stories between men and women. No books, no songs, no press, no movies about love stories. There is no Romeo and Juliet. Every story was propaganda to brainwash us about the Kim dictators. I was born in 1993, and I was abducted at birth, even before I knew the words freedom or human rights. North Koreans are desperately seeking and dying for freedom at this moment. When I was 9 years old, I saw my friend's mother publicly executed. Her crime, watching a Hollywood movie. Expressing doubt about the greatness of the regime can get 3 generations of a family imprisoned or executed. When I was 4 years old, I was warned by my mother not to even whisper. The birds and mice couldn't hear me. I admitted I thought the North Korean dictator could read my mind. My father died in China after we escaped North Korea. And I had to bury him at 3 a.m. in secret. I was 14 years old. I couldn't even cry. I was afraid to be sent back to North Korea. The day I escaped North Korea, I saw my mother raped. The rapist was a Chinese broker. He targeted me. I was 13 years old. There is a saying in North Korea, women are weak, but mothers are strong. My mother allowed herself to be raped in order to protect me. North Korean refugees, about 300,000, are vulnerable in China. 70% of North Korean women and teenage girls are being victimized, sometimes sold for as little as $200. We walked across the Gobi Desert, following a compass. When they stopped working, we followed the stars to freedom. I felt only the stars were with us. Mongolia was our freedom moment. Death or dignity. Armed with knives, we were prepared to kill ourselves if we were going to be sent back to North Korea. We wanted to live as humans. People often ask me, how can we help North Koreans? There are many ways, but I would like to mention 3 for now. 1, educate yourself so you can raise awareness about human crisis in North Korea. 2, help and support North Korean refugees who are trying to escape to freedom. 3, petition China stop repatriation. We have to shed light on the darkest place in the world. It isn't just North Korean human rights. It's our rights that North Korean dictators have violated for 7 decades.
Okay. So that's the first time she was speaking out. And they don't really, you just assume that there's this human atrocity happening, but it is really another world. And I think everybody knows it. In the warm beer case, where the young man who went over there basically was accused of war crimes and beat unconsciously, probably within the first, few days he was there. And then only when our current administration pressured to get him home, were they willing to comply with that? Who knows what the previous administration did to actually get this young man home. But basically they gave him up because he was already dead in the pretty much all ways of that meaning. They're a regime that shouldn't exist, but yet have been allowed to exist because China lets them exist. They don't pay attention to their own human rights violations. Why would they want to be called on these? Like I said, they treat these people like the bastard stepchildren that they never wanted. But in reality, if you look at how they treat Japan, if you look how they treat Taiwan, and this is not Chinese people. I'm not generalizing Chinese people. I'm talking about the entity that is China that wants to be the superpower of the world. They are threatened by anything outside of what they have been working on for a very long time. And North Korea fits into that. and the repression of those people has led to this 7 decades of horrific treatment of these people, and they're not willing to do anything. All they want is to make sure that they maintain that property. That's how far China is willing to go. They're never called on their own human rights. They're not called on their their atrocities to just animals and things. They're not called on destroying the precious, priceless coral reefs in the South China Sea. They're not called on anything. Why? What are you so afraid of? Because they're another nuclear power. I get it. So do you get it? There may not be anything that we can do about Venezuela. There may not be anything that we can do about Russia or China or North Korea other than do sanctions. And you're like, well, what does that do? Well, in a way, it cuts our ties. Because all you can do when you look at this, I mean, there are limited things that we can do. They're talking about, oh, what are the nuclear options, things like that. That's always on the table, y'all. That's always going to be in their rule. So how does that apply to you? Well, it doesn't really, right? Except for the fact that the only thing that we can really do is not let this happen in our own country. We can't let the repression of anybody as far as their speech goes be pushed down or pushed out or pushed away, because no one wins, and we can't even anticipate 100% what's going to happen as a result of that repression. You can't predict crazies on all these different levels on both sides. And if you constantly take sides and you try to make everybody happy, somebody's going to get hurt. And they're getting hurt more and more and more and more. And you can blame one side or the other. That's the whole big thing this morning, was who do we blame? Well, we don't know which one that we should politically correctly blame, other than we know traditionally it's these people. And we know that we want to identify our president with these people. So let's go ahead and put them in the same pile and say that this is our problem. And if President Trump doesn't come out and say those words that he demands everybody else be so clear about, then poo-poo on him, and he's only going to prove that he's on the side of these white supremacists. He's on the side of America. He's on the side of human rights. And I bet he's going to do all that he can to help these people. He's not in it to, a threat against America is always something that you have to respond to. But this is why it's okay to respond beyond that. This young woman is why it's okay. Because those people are no longer treated like humans, and they're not everywhere where we can help that. But if we can help that, we're going to try to help that. And when it's so superficial in a way, so shallow of a motivation to say, I'm not going to be getting into this because it's international. I'm not going to get into this because it's China's problem. They're the ones that are supposed to be nipping this in the bud, and they're not going to do it. So I'm not going to do anything about it. I don't want to rock the boat. It's not my problem. It's not America's problem. In a way, it is America's problem, with Venezuela in particular. These people are going to need somewhere to go if they can't get food. They're going to start coming here. And obviously, a wall is one thing, but if you can get in a 18-wheeler, they might start doing that. They're so desperate. They get in an 18-wheeler and come over here, and some asshole leaves them in a parking lot to fry. That's the dangers of not following the rules and understanding that it's not elitism following the rules. It's not elitism upholding the exceptional rules that we have mapped out for this country with great thought and fortitude. Stop poo-pooing that and get with the bandwagon. Get with the program. Because people are being hurt. And if you can do anything about what's going on in Venezuela, it's making sure that that doesn't happen here. so that we have the extra